Hello everyone! Welcome back to the EDHREC channel and the Architect deck building competition, where clever brewers out there have crafted creative decks, and these finalists here are competing for $250 on cardsphere.com. I am joined by the one, the only, the fabulous, the rules committee member, the purveyor of many hijinks, and a total commander at homie, Olivia Gobert-Hicks. How you doing, Olivia?
You know, I'm better now after that listing of a title.
Yeah.
I was gonna try to be awkward about it. I was like, he just keeps going.
It's giving Mother of Dragons, first of her name.
It is a little. Hi, it's great to be back. Obviously, I wasn't here last time, and I see that we had a deck building for new players thing, which is cool. We do want to say congrats and thanks to last month's winner. Shout out to Dragon Tears, Jasmine Boreal, Oops All Vanilla deck. And that was our winner last month, so congrats.
Heck yeah, congrats on that. And Olivia, I guess also we've got to set the stage for the prompt for this month's deck building challenge too.
We do. Yeah, this is a spicy one, but spicy is not really the right word because it's actually a salty one. So this month was the saltiest decks you can build. But because we don't, want the same thing to keep showing up, obviously we all know we can build a very salty stacks deck. There's so many things to do with that. We actually asked for a neat little spin on it, which was to brew a miserable Commander legal list, but make it cool salty. Make it inventive salty. Make it the thing that even you would hate playing against, but you're going to just be smiling like an evil genius while you're playing it.
Yeah, we didn't just want to have people grabbing those top saltiest cards. We all know the winter orbs and stuff like that.
Exactly.
We want to see salty, but creative. And for folks who aren't as familiar with the salt scores, those salt scores are something that EDHREC does every single year, where the community votes on which cards they dislike seeing the most in EDH, in our super social format. And so this month's challenge was a cool way to kind of honor those neat salt scores and the community voting that we do. And also, by the way, since we've just recently finished up this year's salt polling, we'll hopefully have some more videos in the near future going over all of those fun results.
Yes, so this will be fun. Again, our theme is salt, but make it fashion.
Her name's Fashion. Yeah, I love that. Actually, before we get into the finalists for this week, Livia, I have to ask, what kind of cards would you give a high salt score to out there in Commander?
Armageddon, but there's a very specific reason for that.
Oh, yeah? A fellow
Mainly
commander
Brian,
at homie, perhaps?
Maybe. Playing that and then just saying pass is a whole mood, and I never want to experience that again.
I feel you on that. For me, it tends to be like chaos cards.
Oh,
of just
really?
Like the scramble verses and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just like, because they're not quite as egregious, but that makes them more egregious. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, I'm just like, whoa, okay. But I'm curious to see whether we'll find any of those in these upcoming finalists.
Yeah, I have to say, since you mentioned it as more like an archetype of things that you don't like and rather than specific cards, I love a clone effect. I hate a steal effect because I'm like, excuse me, that's mine. I want to play with my deck. I did not build this for you. Those are probably the ones where I'm just like, but mine.
Yeah.
That's the one thing where I'm like, but I played that. I used my mana for that. What the hell?
Don't you have an area at the Beguiler deck?
Shh, we don't need to talk about
Okay.
Like I said, fun when you play it, miserable when everybody else does.
Do as I say, not as I do. Oh, okay, I feel you. I also, I gotta say, don't you think it's kind of odd that usually Matt hosts this series, but on this one episode where it's all about the cards that make you miserable, he tapped out, so I subbed in. Isn't that interesting that he happens to be absent for this one?
I can't imagine why. Oh, goodness. Well, just to remind y'all, the 3 finalists for any of these amazing contests will receive credit on cardsphere.com. It's a fantastic place that you can trade and receive cards. First place gets $250, second $150, and third gets $100 on cardsphere.com.
And if you want to participate in the next competition for a shot at winning that credit and having your deck featured here on the channel, you can keep an eye on Architect's socials, and they have a notification on Architect itself when the competition goes live, usually the first week of the month. So with that, Olivia, I think it's time for us to get into these salty decks.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we are going to be Sodium Clo Ride or Die.
Our first deck is Dormammu, I've come to bargain. This is from HX15 on Architect, and the game plan here is to restart the game with Karn over and over and over. The commander's Lavinia, and in conjunction with Knowledge Pool and Omen Machine, this will lock your opponents out of playing most of their decks. The rest of the deck slows the opponents down so you can deploy your Time Stone, aka Karn Liberated, who will tick up to the restart the game over and over and over. You can keep the game going indefinitely or as an act of mercy. Slowly whittle down your enemies by playing your own Lonely Arroyo desert land with a Crucible of Worlds to take them down 1 damage at a time. At some point, they probably won't even try to stop you from killing them like this, so good luck.
Olivia, when I saw this list, I think the appropriate word is guffaw. I guffawed. Just like restarting the game over and over again.
I know.
In that Dormammu fashion, that Doctor Strange villain.
Yeah.
What a clever way to do something miserable.
Now, obviously, having Karn reset a game is always one of those threats that makes you like pinch the bridge of your nose and hope that it doesn't happen. But to so specifically like make that part of the gimmick, right? Like, it's not that I'm going to necessarily like lock you out of taking game actions. We're just going to have new games over and over and over.
Genuinely, the win condition is just exhaustion of your opponents because you're not trying to end the game at all. You're trying to Doctor Strange make time last infinitely and just exhaust your enemy Dormammus until they concede.
That being one of your win cons is absurd.
Which is normally awful, but in this case it's flavorful.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what salt should do, is add some flavor, right? So why is it perfect?
This is powerful seasoning right here.
I also gotta say, the stuff like having the full text basic lands in this deck is a really nice extra touch to hammer home the feeling of drudgery that this entire plan is there to promote.
This is bureaucracy.deck, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, you wanted to live forever? Okay. And everything that comes with that.
Yes. Immortality is actually a trick.
And again, it's just like what a clever way to incorporate that. Like, yeah, we've seen that salty cards can add a lot of time, take away game actions, which obviously Lavinia and all of these cards are restricting what your opponents can do. And that's really, it's just like, it's dull, it's boring. And that produces a really high salt score. Like, you can check the Architect actually has a salt sum for every deck on there. And this one's got a really high salt score compared to the average.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that part. Now I have to.
Yeah, the average is usually like 36 or 33, depending on whether you're going with mean or median. This one is at a score of
82.24.
Yeah, but it's not just that like, oh, this is creating a miserable experience. It's creating a miserable and flavorful experience. It took one step beyond just the, I've locked you down.
Right.
It's doing it for a funny reason, and I gotta respect that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, stuff like this, obviously, like if you are playing things like this with an untrusted group, make it clear. But this is, that thing that you bring out with pals to be like, hey, I did something ridiculous. Are you guys game to see if you can stop me from making your life miserable? Yeah. Go for it. Like, absolutely have the best time with this. And this is one of those like, this is what you put together? I respect it, but I never want to see it again.
Yeah, it's a terrific time. Okay, but that's just our first deck. Let's move on to deck number 2.
Deck number 2 is Sensory Overload, and an overload it is. Master Mizik crafted this, sensory nightmare that just finds every tracking mechanic you could possibly imagine. You want to introduce as many different things that require tracking as possible and include only one instance of those things throughout the entire deck. Day, night, the initiative, stickers, the monarch, ring tempting, rad counters, hit counters, bounty counters, attractions. The list goes on. Oh, and don't forget, the order of graveyard's gonna matter here because you might just draw a corpse dance. Teferi's puzzle box effect. I need y'all to know, Joey couldn't even let me get through the deck description because of that one.
I play so much graveyard, but my nightmare is having to keep it in a specific order. That's like, it's nails on a chalkboard.
Yep. It must be just so. And that also means that Teferi's puzzle box effects are going to force everyone to get brand new hands, so they always have to process new info and can't plan anything in advance.
Rude.
With luck, you can defeat the whole table by using Fractured Identity on Phage the Untouchable. And if you're in danger yourself, putting Everybody Lives under an Isochron scepter will keep things going for a long, long, long time. Icing on the cake, Garth the One-Eye adds even more memory aspect by making everyone keep track of what he can still manifest on future turns.
Oh, that's just a twist of the knife right there. It's just like, by the way, do you remember which things Garth's made already? Like, just like a little bit of extra stuff on top of that for a fantastic concept. How many people have we seen? Like, I'm one of them who's just like, I'm not going to play a one-off initiative card in my deck. I can't do that. It's so much extra baggage to bring into a game.
Sure.
If I'm going to have initiative, I'd want to have a lot of it to kind of justify all that extra. Who's going to put a one-off day-night card into their deck?
Exactly.
Well, it turns out this deck, but with all of those examples.
Exactly. And this is one of the, it's another something that you look at it and you look at this list, you're like, this isn't salty. It's this weird, like, condition. And then you play 3 cards in the game and everything is bleak and sad and you want it all to go away.
Yeah.
This is just, looking through the list as we were sitting here discussing it is like, Well, there's that one thing you have to care about that one time for the rest of the game.
Yeah, this deck would make me so salty that I'd belong on a pretzel. Like, this is absolutely ludicrous.
What a way to put it.
Well, here's the thing. I think this deck clearly wants to avoid the usual stacks stuff. It's doing salt in a completely different way. And that, in some ways, can be worse because stacks makes you give up, but this still gives you hope. You don't just give up the way that you normally would with regular salty stack stuff.
It's just day night, it's fine.
Right, this deck tricks you into thinking like, yeah, I can keep track of it all. And that exhausts your ability to actually make effective game decisions because then you have decision fatigue.
Yes.
Like, this deck is secretly fatiguing you and annoying you in the subtle ways that don't actually make you go, never mind. It actually is getting you like there, just like a little bit by bit by bit, but it will add up with every single card it plays.
If like, you could also call this deck insert mechanic trigger, insert mechanic, like whatever.
All right, on your upkeep, all right, at the end, this end step.
Oh my gosh.
By the way, okay, so now we're gonna go to, I've got my attractions here. By the way, here's my stickers.
Another thing that you might say is, but doesn't this come first? Which is a beautiful segue into our last deck. Which brings us to Layers Matter. Wilkinson has built a deck where layer rules need to be at the forefront of your mind. This is a Layers Matter deck, where almost every single card is going to act with the layering system in Magic the Gathering. The true beauty comes from the rules nightmares this deck can cause. Do you know what happens when Mana-Chi swaps the power and toughness of every creature when a Cumberstone gives everything -1/-0 and Godhead of Awe is setting everything to a 1/1? I sure hope you do.
No. What? No, of course not.
All these weird enchantments work just fine, even on the opponent's side of the board, which makes Zedru a draw engine. Plus, Zedru even acts with layer 2. The deck is helpfully sorted here, not by mana cost, but by layer.
This is one of the coolest ways I've ever seen anyone use Architect's sorting system when you're viewing your deck.
This is bananas.
Layer 1 category, layer 2, layer 3. I saw this and I bust a gut looking at, like, all right, here's a whole section for layer 7A, layer 7B, the way that these cards will actually be, like, talk about new secret layer alert, an entire deck that makes you care
Joey. Yeah, and the secret layers are the sub-layers of layer 7 that have been helpfully labeled here that you didn't know existed. So check it out. There is a layer 7, A, B, C, D that you have to go through because you need to know this. I would be remiss to not mention that this submitter, Wilkinson, also helpfully attached the layer rules wiki for us so it could be further parsed. And I believe it's on the description on the deck list itself if you go and check it out and upvote it.
Yeah, because you'll need to know, all right, in layer 1, that's where the rules and effects that modify copyable values will be applied. In layer 2, that's where control changing effects will be applied. Layer 3, text changing effects. Layer 4, type changing effects. And all of that matters for the way that this deck will play when any number of its cards happen to be sticking around here and just completely futzing with your ability to interpret what is supposed to be happening on the battlefield. What status are these creatures supposed to be? Like, this is a nightmare, and none of the individual components are necessarily all that salty in and of themselves.
Exactly.
But as a singular, like, once they're all in play together, interacting in ways that take a PhD to figure out, you're consorting to rule 613, 702, what, like, this deck requires research. That's not why I came here to play a game. That's amazing.
This is salt as an administrative action. This is bureaucracy purgatory kind of stuff of it not actually locking anybody out of anything, but it makes every action take so much longer to make sure it lines up with everything that needs to happen and happen correctly. So obviously, as we can all easily ascertain, this is not a deck I would ever be playing because I would probably just give up as its pilot. Nonetheless, let's be real here. But the volume of things that look innocent and it's just like, oh, okay, I get what copy enchantment is. Yes, but do you understand the 5 things that come before that copy part with everything else that's on the board becomes nightmarish at best?
Yeah, it's such a clever concept for it. Like,
it really is.
Each one of these decks is miserable, but like, it's so neat. It's so damn cool to see, you know? Joey. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that an assault on the senses?
Okay, so anyway, this Zedru Layers Matters deck is incredible. I wish that we would cut away to Joey laughing in his chair because he got me again, and here we go.
I gotta say, actually, Olivia, each one of these is so clever. Like, these are cards strategies that are going to make you completely miserable in a game. but what neat twists on that single concept. I don't know that I could have thought of any of these. That's so cool.
And again, when we put these sort of concepts forward, it's not because we're trying to encourage people, make it miserable for everybody else. Magic should be fun. And sometimes people like and enjoy playing against these kind of decks because it's a puzzle for them. It's a challenge to break. It's, are you as good as you say you are? Is it the card? Is it the pilot? Whatever it may be. There is joy to be found in playing against a Stacks deck, especially if you win against it and be like, haha, I am unstaxable. But while we are telling you, while we say, hey, check in a bit, it is a fun exercise, right? It is a challenge to see how you can take something that might normally not be played a certain way or might not normally invoke administrative nightmares upon people and have fun doing it. It's a good deck building exercise to stretch your creativity, let you find things that you've never seen before, and really explore the space of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I feel like after this, I'm gonna need some acidity to neutralize all of that salt, like some lemon juice, some lime juice, some potassium to just counteract everything that we've witnessed right now, right?
Those would be even worse. Yeah, I just want to go cuddle up to a Bloomborough mouse deck. Hey, small friends, be soft and let's not complicate things. Just get equipment and swing.
Yeah, these have been terrific. What a miserable creative time. I'm really delighted.
So now that you've heard all these wonderful salt-crusted decks and their deck lists and their themes, we encourage you to go pick your favorite on Archidect.com by voting between these 3 finalists. You can vote for one, you can vote for all of them. You're the ones that choose the winners. These deck lists are linked below, and you upvote the ones that you love the most to make sure they can get that spicy first prize.
And also, everyone, make sure that you keep your eye out for the first week of next month for the next deck building challenge for your chance to maybe win that big Cards to Your Prize to help you get a bunch of new cards too. This was a fantastic time. Olivia, thank you so much for going over these finalists with me. Where can folks find you online for more of your fantastic content?
If they want to, which I guess I'm here, you can find me on YouTube at Commander at Home and at Elder Dragon Hijinks. I'm also findable on Twitter, I'm so sorry, and Instagram at my last name, at GoBearHicks.
And I'm Joey Schultz. You can find me everywhere online at Joseph M. Schultz. You can follow the channel for more. We'll have some of that salt data results coming up very, very soon. And we'll see you all soon with more clever brews and EDH Rec data in the future. Thanks everyone for watching, and happy brewing.
Have a good one.